There are quite a few OffSec certifications around these days, but your time, energy, and money are all precious commodities. What is up, everybody? It is Jacob here. I'm going to be upsetting some people in today's video with some spicy takes on OffSec certifications. We're going to be ranking the OffSec certifications from S tier down to C tier purely based on what I consider the ROI, or the return on investment, for these certifications are, i.e., is your time, energy, and money yielding a positive return? Now, disclaimer, because some of you are out here collecting these fucking things like Thanos and the goddamn Infinity Stones, I definitely do not have every single OffSec certification, nor have I done all of their courses, but you can trust me, bro, this is being done with some extremely vigorous scientific research.
Unagi.
So without further ado, let's hop into the rankings. We'll be starting off with the OSAI. Now, this is the new kid on the block. Obviously, everyone and their mother has been talking about AI pen testing and security.
Uses AI to bring AI.
So the content is extremely relevant right now. However, I do think that with the rate of change in the AI field, as well as the fact that I doubt the AI systems we're going to be using in the next 3 to 5 years even remotely resemble the ones we use today, there is a fairly good chance that the content material does become a little bit outdated. That being said, I think that the fundamentals are definitely here for the certification. The baseline content is good, and as I mentioned, the theory should remain fundamentally the same. I think it's got high future value and it's relevant right now, and because of the fresh course content, I would place this solidly in the A tier. The next is the OSCP. Now, the OSCP is, of course, the gold standard, the golden child of OffSec. It is a hands-on exam with relatively up-to-date content. I say relatively because it took them, multiple years to actually add Active Directory. I think the PNPT and TCM security was kicking OffSec's ass enough that they felt that they had to do it. But that being said, the content for the certification is still relatively good. I do think that it is still the gold standard for a reason, and it is the pen testing certification to have, at least in terms of HR recognition. There is no single pen testing certification out there on the market right now that will give you the same level of market credibility and HR credibility that the OSCP builds. And even though there are many that rival or surpass it in terms of content or value,
Here's Johnny.
that remains an irrefutable fact, and for that reason, the OSCP alone is S tier. It is still the gold standard, and it is a great move for your career. The next certification we'll be looking at is the OSEP. Now, the content for the certification is a little bit outdated. For example, they are missing some foundational Active Directory attack vectors like SCCM and ADCS from the exam. But that being said, it does provide a nice narrow intro view into foundational advanced pen testing techniques, and it gives you an idea of techniques like process hollowing, which are still very relevant today. It's not particularly flashy stuff, but it is fundamentals that you would need to know for advanced pen testing and realistic use cases like EDR evasion, and it will undoubtedly make you a better pen tester. In terms of recognition, the OSEP unironically has less recognition than the OSCP, despite being an entire tier above it in terms of difficulty, but it's still got the OffSec brand on it, and it's a solid option if your employer is paying for it. It is technically recognized by pen testers themselves, so in terms of OffSec content, it is definitely far from the worst that they have on offer, and for that reason, it slots nicely and comfortably into the A tier. Next up, the OSWA. I'm going to be honest with you, I think this one is radically outclassed by a myriad of cheaper and better alternatives. I know that this is supposed to be an OffSec ranking video, but come the f on, like, this thing is comparable to the BSCP, and that is going for like, what, $100 or something like that. The BSCP will just teach you way more for way less, and the value proposition on the OSWA just isn't there in my opinion. The ROI is completely negative, and if you are entry level at pen testing, there are just so many better certifications out there. The HR recognition for the certification is in the fucking dumpster.
Ooh, what's going on, divers? Oh, seeing empty dumpsters. That's not good.
I just don't think it's worth getting at all. I would place this solidly in the C tier. Next up, the OSWE. The content for the certification, if I'm going to be honest, is old as f. If you were wandering around in the prehistoric Mesozoic era, you might spot a pack of wild OSWEs next to a pack of velociraptors or some shit like that. But TBH, the value and ROI on this one is actually low-key insane because it teaches you an amazing skill, which is secure code review. Most pen testers absolutely suck at coding and reviewing code, and especially in the age of AI now, I think a lot of coding work has moved from the writing code phase to the reviewing code phase. So if you have that angle from a security perspective, it teaches you a lot. It is an amazing skill to have. That being said, it's not as recognized as the OSEP in terms of job listings, and the exam is kind of brutal, but there's definitely value in having it and taking it. I think in terms of that, it is definitely a worthwhile certification. It isn't the highest ROI, but it's definitely not bad, and for that reason it slots firmly into the B tier. If OffSec actually ever updated the content on the OSWE, I think it would easily rise to A tier. Next up is the OSED. This one is a bit interesting. The realistic truth with exploit development is that there's not actually that much of a business use case for it, unless you're operating at the absolute highest level of the field in a research-driven business or company that gets paid for offensive security, exploit development, insights, and research specifically. If you are, I can guarantee you didn't get that position because of the OSED. The material has some decent exploit development fundamentals, but you'd honestly probably learn more from actually getting your hands dirty on the internet in the field, actively researching this stuff online, and reproducing public exploits for software. With this in mind, and considering that the demand for the certification is just really not that high from an HR perspective or a job perspective, and most of the benefits of the OSWE are lost on this one, I don't think it's unreasonable to say that the ROI for the OSED is not particularly high, and for that reason it sits in C tier. Next up, the OSWE. Now, the OSWE is a course that a tiny minority of cybersecurity professionals will ever take and do. The reason for this is threefold. Firstly, it is delivered in person and there's super limited capacity. Second of all, it is expensive as fuck. Like, literally, this course costs like $10,000. It is ridiculous. And the last is it covers extremely niche Windows exploit development content. Now, the exam requires that you write exploit code, Windows exploit code specifically, from the ground up. Are there better places to learn these skills online for cheaper? Absolutely, but unlike a lot of other courses, the OSWE is actually pretty up to date. It is bleeding edge content, and it makes sense because this is OffSec's premium package and you go to live training with some pretty amazing professionals for it. The truth around the OSWE is it's probably not going to meaningfully accelerate your career in exploit development. If you're paying for this exam though, you're not paying for the certification itself. You're after bleeding edge knowledge and the connections that come with actually going to this OffSec event and live training in person. And I think for the niche people that do buy this course, I would say that is worth it. And for that reason, this lands in the B tier. The next one is the OSDA, and this one is in a bit of a weird spot. It's relatively new and it just doesn't have the recognition that something like the OSCP has, and it's also not really covering completely novel content, but I have read quite a few reviews saying that the content itself is quite decent. The main problem with this exam really is the price. With that standard painful OffSec $1,750, there are just far better certifications out there that you can take for a fraction of the price and similar recognition. It's not absolutely terrible, but it's definitely not amazing either, and for that reason it slots in at the bottom of B tier. Next up, we have the OSTH. Now, for some reason, OffSec has decided that they're not interested in offensive security anymore because we're going into the threat hunting side of things. Now, this certification gives you some hands-on experience in defensive cybersecurity and threat hunting. Now, the reason why this, I think, is in the C tier is quite simple. First of all, it's newish. It doesn't have the AHR recognition, so it suffers from a very similar problem as the OSDA. But the other main kicker is that the course content itself is really short. It is only 54 hours as opposed to the OSDA's 374 hours, and for me that is just not worth it for $1,750 as a standalone purchase. I think that if you have a Learn subscription like Learn Unlimited, for example, it would be worth potentially doing this as part of that, but I think the certification also has a bit of a vendor lock problem as it covers a narrow security stack, and I think that's exacerbated by the short course content. I think unless you have a Learn Unlimited subscription, it's probably worth avoiding this, so for that reason it goes into C tier. Next up, the OSIR, OffSec's take on incident response simulation. Now, this one is a bit of a fun one because for once, OffSec is actually competing on price, because most IR certifications that are actually reputable and valuable are offered by SANS, and those go for upwards of $8,000. The OSIR is actually a nice niche certification that brings incident response content with the OffSec name in a more accessible manner. The technical content in this course is apparently a bit light and it is a bit more theoretical, but the exam is hands-on and I think the value proposition is definitely there. B tier. Next up, we have the OSCE3. Now, this is OffSec's combined certification that you get from having the OSEP, OSWE, and OSED. I'm going to be honest, it is not really that recognized by HR, but it is a technically impressive benchmark for cybersecurity folks, and it's certainly very impressive when I see this on a CV or on someone's LinkedIn profile. HR is probably not going to give that much of a shit about it, but I think the clout you get from having this from a purely technical perspective is pretty good, and it takes a hell of a lot of dedication and pain to get here. So I think for that reason alone, this goes solidly in the A tier. Next, we'll be looking at OffSec's OSCC certifications. It's their cyber core certifications focusing on entry-level cybersecurity. I think for an entry-level cybersecurity certification, both of these are vastly overpriced. I would not recommend doing these unless your work pays for them, and for that reason, C tier. And the very last certification we're going to be looking at is actually the KLCP, which is the Kali Linux Certified Professional. Now, this is actually a completely free certification that OffSec offers with an OffSec account, and you know what? It's free. You'll learn about Kali and package management. If you're new to the field, the ROI is actually okay. It's not going to get you a gold star and a f***ing champagne, but it's free, so why not? For that reason, let's slot this one into B tier. Okay, wait, pause. When I heard that the certification was free, I had to look further into the OffSec website because free and OffSec in the same sentence set my alarm bells off, and it turns out it's not actually free. The course is free, the exam is not. So to actually get the certification, you will have to have one of the OffSec Learn subscriptions, and even worse, the exam itself actually is multiple choice and not hands-on, which I think is really disappointing because OffSec missed a great opportunity here to create a hands-on entry-level Kali certification. So with that in mind, I'm actually going to be dropping this one down to the C tier. Well, there you have it. We have ranked all the offensive security certifications. It is my opinion that the OSCP is still the gold standard and the king of OffSec, and probably will be for a very long time. That being said, I think that we only ranked OffSec certifications during this tier list, so there's an entire other market to explore in terms of other providers, like for example Hack the Box, who has amazing content in their own right. So with that in mind, let me know what you think about this tier list and what video I could potentially do next. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. And if you have any other specific questions, drop them down in the comments below or ping me on LinkedIn. I answer questions there as well.